Oh, there's even a viewer waiting. Greetings in the love and light of the infinite creator. I'm Andrii Zvorygin, joined here today by Bill, Dan, Anthony, and Grace, and we'll be discussing the September 27th session, and it's about channeling groups and humanity's future potential of service, serving others, and things like that. Um, and now I guess we'll begin. Um, Bill, and we have Dan here who's got experience in a channeling group. And then Bill, did you want to read today? I don't know if Bill is with us.
I can read if you want.
Okay. Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Oh, are we ready right now?
Yeah. We're ready. We're waiting for
Okay.
you.
All right. I am cool, and I'm with this instrument at this time. We are with you always if you seek for our service in your meditations. And at this time, we are so honored to be with you as you meditate as a group and come together to open your hearts to each other, to find that you have the love of Creator moving through you each time that you take a breath, take a step, and make more decisions in the third density illusion of separation. You are those who are aware that this is an illusion created by the veil of forgetting that all have, so they may learn more about the nature of their being by penetrating that veil as conscious seekers of truth. So we do thank you for your love, which we return to you. At this time, we would ask if there is a query to which we may respond.
I have a query. My wife and I are planning to connect more with the Creator and to develop spiritually. And as a way of getting back to service to others, we were considering starting a channeling group. I was wondering if you had any general advice for anyone wishing to create such a group, and also one question about physical proximity. How important is it that the members of the group be together in one room, or can they be one or more members that are many miles apart, and how that might affect the channeling circle?
Okay. Oh, somebody
Oh,
on. Okay. I am cool, and I am aware of your query, my brother. You have asked the query that is most important to any spiritual seeker that wishes to serve as a channel or instrument for any entity that is hoped for has the source of inspiration. Firstly, we would say that it is important to be together in the same location so that the energies that you have together may blend in a manner that helps to protect the group from any outside influence that might be difficult. We would also suggest that there be a means of providing a protection for the place of your channeling for the same reason that there are many entities within this infinite creation that you do not wish to hear from. So, if you could perform a ritual such as the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram in the place where you will have your channeling, this will provide you protection from any entity that you would not want to hear from. We would also suggest that if you are channeling only your higher self or a guide, that you may do this without any other kind of restrictions. For there are personal For these are personal sources of information that can give you very inspiring messages for each step of your spiritual journey and give you the overview of what the creation about you is, what which allows the creator to know itself in many different facets. We would also suggest that if you do not have the opportunity to channel your guides or your higher self, and you're channeling sources that are not supposedly of this planet, or you do not know where they are from, that you need to observe the protocols that the one known as Carla has provided for all such channels. That is, that you look within yourself to find those qualities that you would be happy to live for and glad to die for. And when you are then in a channeling situation, that you channel any source of the information you are receiving in the name of those qualities. Now, we also must mention that there are processes that you may go through to prepare yourself for channeling that are what we have called tuning, which those known as Gary, Trish, Austin, and Jim have provided for themselves, so that has a musical instrument that plays in the orchestra, you will hit the notes you hope to hit. So the tuning and the channeling are most necessary in any channeling process that does not include entities that you are aware of that may be your higher self or any guide. So this is our recommendation, brother. Do you have any follow-up question?
Thank you very much. Okay, so I guess we can tease that apart a little bit at least, and welcome Ashley as well. And so I don't know if Ashley, you wanted to give some feedback since you've got like a bunch of personal experience in this. I don't know if you're available.
Um, Nothing much to add, just that the things Quo was saying are in Carla's channeling intensive, so I would just recommend reading that because it covers uh, in detail what Quo gave the Spark Notes version of in this reply.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yes. Okay. Give us point by point with quotes. Yep. Okay. Anyone else wanted to mention anything from this? Physical proximity is important, though I know in a different channeling they said it wasn't so important. I mean, you could do it remotely. Protect space with a ritual, metaphysical hygiene, channeling your higher self or guides is simpler and safer. Um, Unknown off-planet sources require strict protocols. Find your core values, challenge the source. Tuning is essential preparation. Tuning and challenging are necessary for non-personal sources. Okay, great. So it was the no thank you. There we go. Now with this instrument. Okay. Hello, Cool. What can you tell us about the potential future of humanity and the role that we will play in it? Is Bill reading? Or does Ashley want to read?
Wait, did you skip?
Did you skip something?
Oh well, did we want to do the transferring? It's just the transferring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand.
Oh, got it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I am cool. Okay, what was the question with potential future of humanity? Oh, and the role that we play in it. Okay. I am Kuo and am aware of this query, my sister, and we appreciate the broad potential that is alive within this query. We offer our perspective to groups such as this from a vantage in which we see many potentials. We are able to view what we have called in your system of physics time space, which allows us a greater perception of what you experience as time. From your perspective, veiled within the space time of third density, you do not have available to you this perspective that allows time to be more malleable, more fluid, to have a greater vantage point and understand how time and time space works. For you, it seems as though there is a linear path that you are stuck within, and you must abide by the so called flow of time. But from the perspective that we have, which allows us to view with some distorted accuracy both space, time, and time space, we are able to perceive time has less of a linear flow. Instead of a stream flowing in one direction, you may say, there is a system of waterways that includes lakes and oceans alongside streams and other types of interesting metaphors that we could call upon. However, to speak to the heart of your query, it is a complicated task for us to view the future of your peoples upon your planet. For you exist in a time upon your planet of great volatility, of great potential. There is much happening both upon the surface that you can view and beneath the surface in the hidden realms of your planet that are allowing for various types of shifts and reconfigurations. These manifest in ways that seem quite confusing to your peoples upon the surface. It generates, you may say, great catalysts for your peoples to contend with. We would at this time offer the perspective that we wish to continually emphasize when we share with groups such as this, that though the catalysts bring with them things that seem quite unpleasant, things that seem painful and discomforting, even scary, that they allow for the perspective of your veiled consciousness to look to the future with bleakness. That this perspective is quite limited and is in, indicative far more of your own distortions, and an individual has a collective rather than an accurate view of what will come or what may come. And indeed, many who read these words or hear us, those that we have called wanderers, you have come to this planet explicitly with the desire to be here for such opportunities. You have come not just to witness difficulties and the seeming chaos that manifests when this reconfiguration happens upon your planet, but also to offer it your love, to hold this transformation with a perspective that allows the Creator to move through you and allows others to witness the Creator through the light that you shine, and allows them to recognize the light of the Creator within themselves. The primary goal of these wanderers and travelers who have come to this planet to incarnate at this time is not necessarily to aid directly through acts of service and help, though this is certainly one manifestation of that service that is intended, but rather the primary desire was to act as a catalyst to make the love and the light of the Creator more available, to bring the potential for those upon this planet, to allow it to move through them, to see it within themselves, so that you may all, as a planetary population, begin to hear the song of the Creator, to witness the love and the light manifest in every situation, and allow this love and light to move your body and heart and soul upon this planet. This involves during this time of transformation and transition from the third density to the fourth density, much catalyst. And this catalyst is increasing upon your surface planet. As we know, many here are aware. We emphasize again that how you view this catalyst, how you understand your place upon this planet, how you predict what the future may bring for your planetary population and for you is itself catalyst for you to use as a gift, for you to understand as a reflection of your own beingness. We encourage you as you contemplate what is potential upon your planet and where your population may go to understand that these questions are questions of the self. They may seem like grand outward questions, and you may seem but a small individual player upon a huge grand stage. But we encourage you to meditate upon the vastness of your inner world and how this outer world exists within you, and how you have within you the infinite power of the one infinite Creator to use and understand your perception in order to bring about more of the love and light that you came here to share. So when you ask us a question such as this, we would like to emphasize the potential within yourself to bring about the most grand positive change upon your planet. But this grand positive change, as we frame it, happens first within yourself. It is a realization of opening the heart, of releasing those things that you have accumulated within your incarnation and allowing them to fall away as you let the love and light of the Creator to burn more brightly within you. As you experience the transformation for yourself, you begin to view the world about you in different ways. The catalyst that you view becomes more apparent as the gift for what it is. The opportunities for you to serve others in direct or indirect ways become more and more apparent. And so, even in a seemingly chaotic and difficult environment, this opportunity for the love and the light of the Creator to manifest becomes even greater. Should we stop there?
Sure. Okay. What are your reflections, guys? It seemed kind of like they didn't say that much, to be honest. Other than that they were talking about the people underneath the surface of the planet, which I'm not sure if they're talking about the inner planes or they're talking about some kind of people living underground. Yeah. Hey, Pat, how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. We were just doing this reading here, and it's talking about the potential future of humanity and the role we play in it. And it's saying that we can create a positive change. So, Ku starts by explaining their vantage point is different from ours because they see time space and we see space time. Yeah, that's really important. So sometimes they get confused about what's happening in the past and what's happening in the future. We offer our perspective to groups such as this from a vantage in which we see many potentials. We're able to view what we have called in your system of physics time-space, which allows us a greater perception of what you experience as time. Oh yeah, there's also that. Our third density, veiled experience, makes time feel rigid and linear. From your perspective, veiled within the space, you do not have available to you this perspective that allows time to be more malleable, more fluid. Well, unless you use spiritual insight, I guess. Instead of a stream flowing in one direction, you may say there is a system of waterways that includes lakes and an ocean alongside streams. Oh, that's interesting. So, I mean, like, there's kind of like mainline trajectories and little less probable trajectories. Humanity is in a volatile, high potential period. It is a complicated task for us to view the future of your peoples upon. It's hard for them to describe the future. We're in a time of intense flux. Oh, okay. I see. That's why they didn't say much. For you exist in a time upon your planet of great volatility, of great potential. Changes happening both visibly and invisibly. So much happening both upon the surface that you can view and beneath the surface in the hidden realms of your planet that are allowing for various types of shifts and reconfigurations. And the result is heavy catalyst. These manifest in ways that seem quite confusing to your people upon the surface, generates a great catalyst for your people to contend with. Okay. So catalysts can feel painful and scary. The colors how we see the future. Though the catalysts bring with them things that seem quite unpleasant, things that may seem painful and discomforting, even scary, that they allow for the perspective of your veiled consciousness to look at the future with bleakness. But that bleakness is more about distortions than about what will happen. That this perspective is quite limited and is indicative far more of your own distortions of an individual or collective rather than an accurate view of what will come or what may come. That's also true because, the future totally depends on how, if we decide to be nice to each other or if we decide to be mean to each other. Because if we decide to be mean to each other, then yeah, it's going to be bad. But if we decide to be nice to each other, then it's going to be good. Does that make sense? Okay. Many hearing this are wanderers, and indeed, many who read these words are those who hear us, and that we have called wanderers. Okay. Yep, because you like the opportunities, that's why you're here. Wanderers are here not just to watch the chaos, but to offer love. Okay, also to offer it your love. And the presence help others see the creator themselves, hold the transformation allows the creator to move through you, and allows others to witness the creator through the light that you shine. Allows them to recognize the light of the creator within themselves. Yes, for sure. The primary goal of the wanderers and travelers, not necessarily to aid directly through acts of service, but rather the primary desire was to be as a catalyst to make the love and light of the creator more available. Very good. This, and we got lots of catalyst. How you interpret the catalyst is itself a catalyst. Your picture of the future of humanity is a mirror of your own consciousness. Okay, so guys, is any of this resonating with anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Anthony,
I can comment on it.
Go ahead.
And so, well, the main thing, at least in my experience, is how when you start to consciously, for lack of a better word, polarize in the positive sense, the challenge then becomes how to then best respond in love. Every answer then is love. And so how we interpret situations or the stories we tell about a situation then can help us then respond in a way that is compassionate. However, concerning yourself about things such as the future or future events, one, at the very best, at the very, very best, and even Eckhart Tolle talks about this, at the very best, they're guesses, and you are very rarely, if ever, right, exactly, right? And so to base your emotions and, really emotions and base them in these, it's really folly. But from a perspective of polarizing, it really relies on a lack of faith. If you're really focusing on the future, you're really aware, or really trying to be aware of the different events that are taking place. On a really polarized side of things, that could also be a lack of faith. It could be observed as that. To one who has complete faith, the only response is love, and everything then is provided for you. And then also, the last thing I'll speak about is the way that we see the world, or the way that we describe the world to ourselves. It really has an influence upon the things that we have, or the things that we attract to ourselves. And many people, especially in business and in service to self type of path, they really utilize that visualization and really utilize their subconscious and really try to program their subconscious, from a Western standpoint, to be able to perceive these events. What you think about, you do perceive more often, or you bring about, right? And then from a spiritual perspective, it does mind, and your subconscious will create situations. I wouldn't say necessarily create, but will coordinate, right? Certain situations and attract things to you to align with your beliefs, because these things do provide catalysts for you. And catalyst is really, in my opinion, I end on this, is really the opportunity to respond in love, whether it be love to yourself, or how we practice here, love of others. And every single thing that comes into your perspective, even the concept of how do I deal with this catalyst, is catalyst.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I would agree with all of that.
But that's only if you reach a certain level.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate, Bill?
Oh, he elaborated.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely right. Someone you don't want to. This is not, for one, what I'm describing is not needed for graduation. We're talking about adept type polarization. Really, the only thing that, generally speaking, the only thing we all should be trying to do is how can the answer be love, right? When someone cuts you off in traffic, how can you respond in love, right? That love may be honest blue communication. Hey man, I really did not appreciate that. Of course, you can't really do that in traffic, right? But however that situation is, the goal for us to graduate is, can we respond to every single process that we experience? Or if we talking code, we have the end result, and we're going to throw all these different scenarios, all these different test experiments at this code. and this code being our life, and the response should always be the same. And anytime the response is not the same, we have to go in there and rewrite the code, right? And that's kind of what we're doing here. And since we're at graduation, everyone here, their code is pretty much locked in, where they've made their choice as far as they can kind of take it. And so really now is a matter of accentuating that choice even more.
Yes. Yes, it's true. It's true. The polarization, all of that catalyst is opportunities for polarization.
Yeah. Well, take the example of getting cut off in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
When you're on this path and you're thinking of others, you're trying to think of others more than yourself, then you start to think of the other self that cut you off. You start to think, well, he might have a bad day. He could be a really mean person. He could be really selfish. He could have all these reasons to do what he did. He could be completely apathetic, clueless. But and we can respond. We can respond with anger, with whatever. But when we're thinking about others, we start to just like in that situation. Okay, I'm not going to respond in anger. I'm just going to give the guy a break. I'm going to just go about what I'm doing, and I'm not going to, honk my horn at him, flip him off, yell at him out the window, crash my car into him,
No, don't do that.
To get his attention that I'm upset,
Mm-hmm.
So we just we start navigating things in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Want me to continue?
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's.
I didn't know that we were this close to ending it.
Oh, you mean the session?
No, this question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
It says, we share this perspective in response to this query, for we do view in your space-time and time-space continuum the possibility and probabilities for increasing difficulty, but also see great potential through this difficulty for the love and the light of the Creator to awaken within each soul upon this planet. We encourage you to continue your daily practice of meditation, of bringing to your heart those things that trouble you, those things that make you uncomfortable, those plans that you experience or witness about you, and hold them within your heart. Do not allow them to push you from your center. Accept them as an aspect of your own being. And as you hold them without judgment and without evaluation, they will transform within you. And thus the outer world will be transformed. And one day, you as an individual and a planetary population may wake up to realize that this transformation has taken hold upon your planet and the light of the fourth density dawns. Is there a follow-up query, my sister? We are co, and as we sense the silence of a lack of follow-up, we offer our close through this instrument and thus transfer the contact of the one known as Trisha. We are co.
All right. Well, we'll do the close a little bit later. Here. So it was talking about this perspective and the probabilities of increasing difficulty, but also the potential for the difficulty for the love and of the Creator to awaken within each soul upon this planet. And I think it is a great opportunity, because people are, when things are just going smoothly, people have no impetus to change or to grow. And so, times of great difficulty, they are more likely to say, hey, maybe I need to do something differently.
And remember, at the beginning of this question, the answer to this question, Kuo did tell us that as wanderers, we not only are coming here to, try to, lift the vibration and everything, we are actually trying to through our example and through our radiation, try to instill the love and light of the Creator within other beings.
Hmm. Yeah. Like recently, I got this idea of making this kind of multifaceted AI using my human linguistic programming language, which I'm still developing really, but to make like so people could download like this baby AI, and then it would help them through life, um, and then also to form a community and get land so that they could have a permaculture village community that will survive the inevitable collapse of our fossil fuel based societies within the coming decade and a half. So that's the great difficulty, because we're running out of the fossil fuels. But there's also that great potential for the love and light of the great to awaken within each soul, because we can be like, hey, you know what? There's enough land for everybody. We just got to learn how to be kind to each other and share. And then everyone can have enough food and water and live a good life.
Hey, brother, that's exactly. We gotta chop it up after the call, because that's exactly the kind of plan that I have, and I actually have some working code. And so I've been looking for someone in our group that knows a little bit about coding,
Oh, good.
that can kind of take it. Because exactly what I want to do, I want to create some very nice code, and then use all the funds from that, then to do all the things you just talked about and more, like around hospitals and like free hospitals and like free grocery and
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I mean, like the AIs we have now, I mean, they basically are free hospitals because they've
Yeah.
passed all the exams. They've passed all the medical exams.
Well, even more importantly, what I was looking at it is how much money these companies make. They make trillions of dollars, and just imagine if there was a CEO out there that just kept, dare I say it, 100 million of those trillions of dollars, and then gave the rest of it away. I mean, imagine how many hospitals and social services that individual, dare he say it, he did not like liquidate and gave away all of his stuff. What that individual then could do with some type of resource.
Well, I
So
think that's a uniquely American thing that people make, because nowhere else in the world is healthcare a for-profit institution that makes people money.
I
It's
know,
only in America. And
and
then
it causes so many problems.
yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, and you also have laws against helping anyone medically if you're not a certified professional or whatever. And
Mhm.
so that makes it very complicated to implement something like a free uh, healthcare provision. But in Canada, like, we're allowed to do that, no problem, no questions asked.
Yeah, you'd
Um,
be surprised how many things can happen with like $100 million, that can just be thrown at it,
oh
$200
yeah,
billion,
well, if you
you
have
know,
$100 million to throw around,
someone
but
like
yeah,
Apple
in
could, right?
America,
Or someone like
America's
Nivea could, right? And so like imagine creating a company like that and then doing those things.
yeah,
That's kind of what I was like to do.
it's just America is basically run by the ultra wealthy. It's a plutocratic, you know, oligarchy, and so the rich rule, and everyone else submits to the rich. But if you had, even if you had $100 million, you'd have to contend with the $1 billion companies that require the current inequality in America in order to continue making profit.
Oh yeah.
So, on that personal level, it's easier to do what we can. Um, Say, for instance, there is like a good doctor or whatever. There's lots of local language models that you could run that would give you a diagnosis and all those things if you ask them to. And then there's no liability because you're just basically giving yourself advice if you're running it yourself, or if you're in like a religious community where people aren't going to rat you out for practicing medicine or whatever. But yeah, I'm not familiar enough with the American situation to comment much on that. Um, because I live in Canada.
In America, everything can be solved with a large enough check. So,
Right,
like that.
right. Yeah, yeah. If you have the money for it.
If Apple tomorrow or NVIDIA said, hey, we want to build hospitals and we want to hire the best doctors and then we want to use our trillions and billions of dollars of liquid assets then to fund these fully, fully licensed and fully, compliant hospitals. The only catch is we take care of all the bills. That's what I envision. Not changing the system at all, but just instead of sitting on $1 trillion, once we use that money not to give to some, some foundation that my brother owns, right, who then cashes it back over to me, or, some, politician's fake fund, but actually go take that money and build something with it, and then sustain it with the money and the income from all this awesome software that, wanderers like you and I could possibly invent. That's kind of the thing I was thinking.
Or-
World-changing type of software, and then just make a whole bunch of money just like they would. But instead of sitting back and buying yachts and going to weird nightclubs where they have, crazy things happening on with Puff Daddy and oil and stuff, we actually stay at home and meditate and just sit on the billions and spend it wisely towards the planet. Something like that.
That entails criminals walking away from their criminal empires.
Yes.
Enterprises. And we don't have a lot of volunteering doing that in the world.
Yeah, and it would also be a threat to all of those, people. Basically, like I do not like the issues that we're having. Like the healthcare is kind of just. I mean, while America may have the worst healthcare model in the world, but it's not even the main problem that they're referring to here. Because it's really that we're running out of fossil fuels. So the ability of having food in the grocery stores declines every single year. And then by the mid to late 2030s, for anyone that's still on the industrial food model, they're going to be spending 70% of their income on food, if not 100% or more, just to get their basic needs met. And so that's where the society collapse gets in, unless we have a transition to like a more rural kind of loving thing where it's like, yeah, okay, people deserve to have land so they can provide for their own needs. And then actually most of the health problems go away, because many of the health problems are caused by living in cities and being overly like not having anything to do, and being having everybody's auras impinging on them and stuff like that.
There's a whole lot more possibilities than you're just putting forward, Andrii.
There may be
more potentials. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Even the idea of running out of fossil fuel, that's nonsense.
Well, you may be of that opinion, but I talked to the leading researchers in the field every month.
And they've been saying that crap for the last 100 years.
That's not true. And actually everything has been going according to their models since like the 60s. So there was the conventional thing, and then we actually did.
You just used a key word there, models.
Yeah,
that's
and
not scientific. You need data, real data.
Right, and the models are based on the data.
Okay, if you believe that.
Well, no, I know it. I mean,
okay.
I've seen the data. And anyways,
that's
so we know the future. We know like the general trends, anyways. But the outcome depends on the amount of love and kindness we can generate for all beings. All right. So I guess
I'll agree with you on that part. I mean, that's that ending line. I definitely agree with you on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Other than that, everything else is. I have to say, everything is up for grabs.
Well, you can watch my peak oil chats if you like. I mean, they have all of the data, and the scientists and all world-leading scientists and all that. So
a lot of fear mongering.
I don't doubt the probabilities of it at all. But we do live in a universe full of infinite possibilities, and I'm someone that is very scientific and deal with numbers all the time. And there are experiments, no matter how much data you have, you never know the results until it's ran.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's
you don't.
that's
You don't.
and that
But
is and that's kind of the scenario that life is in, is that what you're saying is there's a high probability of that occurring, and most likely, compared to other scenarios, that is the case based in this time and space vortex at this present moment.
right.
However, as we move closer and closer to each of those predictions, new and even more unforeseen variables then have to be calculated in real time, and immediately then that scenario changes in definition in any type of way. And that's why if you look at your own life, or especially just even at the military, who plans things very astutely, they'll tell you as soon as the plan begins, it completely falls apart. There's very few times for any type of operation where these things are planned out does it ever go to plan. And that's just due to the free will of the individual or co-creators in which are involved in that. At any given time, an individual can, and we're talking about, your subconscious, depending on the scenario and the level of belief, there are all kinds of, dare I say, magical and supernatural things that can happen randomly and spontaneously, and that do. And so I'm not saying that you're incorrect. I'm just saying there is probably a more accurate way to describe what you're saying.
Well, it is. I mean, like basically, even the models they made in the 70s are tracking one for one. Like they're exactly like the future is just like they predicted. It's amazing how long the trajectory has held. And so we're experiencing exactly all the stuff that was predicted, and like that we're running out of oil, and that so for example, well, one of the side effects of this net energy decline is that for like 100 years the price of food and the number of people who were dying from malnutrition was declining, and that stopped in 2014, and since then it's been rising. The cost of food and the number of people dying from malnutrition has been rising from that point.
Yeah, but is it because of that, or is it done purposely? Because there's certain elements out there that are working consciously hard to make the food supply be depleted.
It's you see, like we had all the same actors.
You're acting like there's cause and effect and
Yes,
all these
it's physics.
probabilities.
It's
and
physics.
I call bullshit on that, because there's so much special interest and manipulate. It's like saying capitalism is bad. Well, capitalism is what it is, but there hasn't been any capitalism. There's only been crony capitalism, because the government picks and chooses winners and losers. Everybody's got a hand in the pie. So there's no natural, the only natural cause and effect is what other selfish person has in that, what they're trying to grab. Because somebody's trying, everything's so complicated because everybody's got interest and a hand in the kitty. That's why everything's so complicated.
Well, it's really not that complicated when you look at it from a biophysical standpoint, because it's just pure physics.
We're not looking at it like that. We're looking at it with the reality is people have special interest, and these special interests literally come into play, and they stop everything logical. I mean, if we were logical, we would have been growing hemp in a massive way the last 100 years.
Well, it's just basically what we're experiencing is not, what you would say logical, but it is how organisms evolve, given a food supply. So, say for instance, you have a bunch of deer, and then you have a food supply, a forest, and then you don't have any predators. Then the deer will continue eating the forest and reproducing until they destroy the forest, and then creates an ecological
That's not
collapse.
what's going on.
That's exactly what's going on
in the
Earth.
situation on planet Earth. And
yes.
That metaphor is, the deer, we have a bunch
The
of
deer are the humans,
deer would be
and the
lighting a bunch
forest is
of
the fossil
forests on
fuels.
fire to screw the other deer under.
It's not about screwing any other deer under. It's that there's a fossil fuels, which is it's kind of like a mound. It's the feast. And then if you have one deer that's like, no, I'm not going to eat those, some other deer will. And
Well, let me interject there just real
yeah,
quickly though, because what you're
mhm.
describing is a second density type of biological evolution, and we're not
Right.
second density, correct?
But we still have second density bodies, and that's how they're behaving
We do,
on a
however,
larger scale.
we do have the difference, though, according to the studies that we all study, is that we do have choice. And so we do have a choice, and that's the hope that we hope, right? Is that at some level that we pull away from this second density behavior. I mean, really, at the end of the day, us as a society, we're not much greater than the apes are. We're literally fighting over territory and over resources, and we just added more steps onto it by using guns and tanks and technology, right? But we're still just swinging weapons at each other. Um, but I would say that's why I would say I agree with what you're saying. But the hope, like even as Ra and them said, is that what you're describing is ever probable. But can us as a society, you know, maybe wake up, and that's ever probable. It's just not possible, And
Well, it
so
is
those
possible,
situations,
but not
excuse me,
probable. Yes.
thank you, my dyslexia. But yeah, exactly what you said, and therefore, uh, it's wise. It's wise to be aware of these things, and it's wise to investigate and to study these things, but to couch it in the understanding, or even more so, the compassion that there are things that happen, and there are things that especially in your own personal experience, that can happen that go outside of that type of general flow of evolution, because what you're speaking about is true, maybe in a general perspective, but when we're talking about individuals, there are many edge cases, um, dare I say, maybe even close to as many of the groupings that you would have if you were to do like a plotting of that, right? You would see thousands of other
But,
areas
but yeah, you have a
not
bell
clustering
curve.
together. Well, I'm describing more so of a 3D clustering of things, but yes, well, even with a bell curve, if you didn't apply any type of additional or heavy weighting to it, and you allowed some of those edge cases to then populate, you would still see, depending on how heavily you weight it, you would still see outliers. And that's kind of what I can't remember who was speaking. I think that's kind of the point that he's speaking about, is that you have to also understand that where the blind area is with us wanderers is that we trust so often. And everything you're saying is completely true up to the point where we fully assume that the information has not been in any way, or been in any way altered to
Manipulated.
manipulate it to, one, keep my job. How many of us have done this at work, where we do the things that we may not want to do in order to keep our jobs, or even as far as up to the upper level, where people who, I don't know if you guys know about De Beers is a good example, who then portray this idea that this source made from carbon, like diamonds, is completely scarce. Meanwhile, De Beers is, pulling it out every single day, and it's not this scarce thing. And you can look into this. This is not just something I'm making up. And so to assume in history, we see many times governments, especially the United States, lying about many things that they presented to be true. Iraq invasion of that is one of them. Then later on we find out not to be true. And how many people stood up fervently during Iraq and said, yes, we know for a fact that they have those weapons there. And to this day, they've never been found. And even people have come out and said otherwise. And so what you're saying is absolutely true in the assumption that there are no outside interests with oil, because right there you have for one, the whole United States government's economy is based on oil. Like, if we cannot trade oil for U.S. dollars, and we can't make other countries trade oil for U.S. dollars, the whole empire is gone. And so, not to think that, and so it's just, I agree with both of you guys' standpoints up to a point, because there is there is in both of those arguments, there's kind of an area where we don't know, right? And
Well,
so we can kind of
you
just
can't trade
agree in
something
not
you don't
knowing.
have. That's
True.
that's the crux of it. And here Adam has he was saying how, or Dan said, Kua literally just said that we can't. There's too much potential for them to foresee the future. But yeah, they were talking about whether it's going to be bleak or whether it's going to be good. And in that sense, yes. So it's kind of like there's the terrain. The terrain we know because it's based on physics. But what we will do with that terrain, that's what we can't foresee. Because for instance, when things are growing, when we're in a state of more and more resources, we could share, we could, but historically, what happens is that instead we have hyper accumulators, people who accumulate a lot, and others that don't. And then the same thing can happen when things are declining. You can have
Really, that's what you call them, hyper accumulators.
well, that's one of the ways of calling
Oh
them
my God! Yeah. Oh, the world you live in, Andrii.
hyper
Okay.
well, I
I
mean
like it.
that's it. Like a willow is considered a hyper accumulator because it accumulates large amounts of water and minerals and things like this.
Service itself.
You could say that, yeah, but that's just the function of a willow.
That's a biology, though. If it's a
It is the
willow tree.
biology, yes. So, but in a human sense, it would be a service to self individual, and so that is a choice. That is certainly a choice, and so there is that choice to have or support systemically service to self individuals, like is the case in America, or you could have a choice of supporting more service to others individuals. And I don't know if we have such societies, but some lean more towards service to others than others, and make it more difficult for service to self people than other places. Like I know China's been at least making an effort to clamp down on corruption and stuff like that. And so it depends. You can have different systems that encourage different kinds of behaviors, but they can't really force service to others.
But the thing is, the interesting thing about it is any system that invokes hierarchy is service to self.
Hold on for a moment.
Mike Tyson had this saying when it came to boxing. He used to say, everyone has a plan, everyone has a strategy until you get punched in the face. And then everything changes. But that's planet Earth. We got a strategy. You're going to come up with all these strategies, Andrii, and you're going to find a special interest is going to come along and punch you guys right in the face.
Well, fortunately, I don't live in America, so
well, you live in Canada. It's just
yeah,
bad.
it's just we don't have the special interest groups that you guys have.
Yeah, you do. You just don't know it.
They're different. They're different. We do have some.
Well, you start messing with the status quo at the top, you're going to get punched in the face.
Well, if that's what you want to experience, you're manifesting this.
Well, no, you're going to dink and dunk, and maybe you can get things done on the fringes, what you're trying to do, but when it comes to the big enchilada, that's not how things work on this planet.
Well, no one is saying anything about the big enchilada. Basically, the trajectory of the world or the nations, especially large nations with many millions of people, is going to be business as usual until they collapse. At least that's the most probable, because that's historically what's always happened. Like that's how the Roman Empire collapsed and the Russian Empire collapsed, and all of them. That's how they collapse. Is that they just, like, even now in Canada, our like the Liberal Party, they simply want to censor the symptoms, so to pretend that they're not, like, that people are not disgruntled by making it impossible, like illegal for them to be disgruntled. But that's not going to help the problem. That's just going to hide it from the elite. And so they are more likely to barrel forward into a collapse. And so on those higher levels, yes, the likelihood of, say, America or Canada surviving as a nation is low. But the possibility of a locality like a small municipality or at least an intentional community or something along those lines is far more possible. Like the remnant, there's going to be a surviving remnant. And I mean, the most probable is it's going to be about 4% of the people that are alive today. But if things go really well and we have a lot of love and kindness, then it can be higher. But historically, it's been about 4%. And, a lot of the, channelings I've read all point to the same picture.
Welcome to planet Earth.
Yeah, and that's kind of the terrain of it. But I think that there's extremely good likelihood that the people that survive the 2030s, they're going to be in kind of like at least the ones that are on the service to others path are going to be living in a rural paradise. That's very nice and kind and loving and all that stuff. The fourth density, as they call it.
And even if not, though, too, I mean, we're here to be of service. And so even in the worst possible situations, once again, the only answer is love. And just like in the Holocaust, there were individuals that even though they were going to die, they would walk around and they would give out flowers and they would give comfort to other people. And they knew for a fact they were going to die. And that's the love. And that's literally what we've come here to do as wanderers. Is it really...
Mm-hmm.
I'm a scientific person. I love looking into all these things, but at the end of the day, even if it is super bad, right, and everything goes to heck, right, that's every opportunity for us to love, to go out there and with faith, pick up a brother, pick up a sister, help bury a loved one, and to do it with love in our heart. And if it is this fourth density world, well, great. That's even another opportunity for us to then love and to do the exact same thing. And so the interesting thing is the answer's always the same. The mission never changes no matter what the circumstance is. You can call into HQ all you want, and it's going to tell you the mission's the same, and the mission's to love. And so I think the challenge for us as individuals who practice this so astutely is how can we then take all this wisdom that we possess and couch it in answers that are surrounded in compassion, right? And how can we move with this wisdom? How can we learn more in order to serve more, right?
Anthony, thank you. I was going to say that, so I appreciate you saying that. I just want to add that that's what I'm trying to do in my life. Like, I don't have all the science and stats and information about the world and politics. I just know that I need to work on myself to be at that level where when shit hits the fan, I can be that shining example of like, hey, things are okay, guys, calm down. But yeah, go ahead, Andrii.
Amen. No, that was great, Dan. That was great. Yeah,
I was going to add to what Anthony said. You had Viktor Frankl out of the Holocaust, Man's Search for Meaning, and what he said was the most indicative sign that somebody was going to survive the Holocaust was that they had something to live for, some other thing that keep them going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of people are going to have that in all these doomsday scenarios.
Yeah, I remember seeing those pictures of those famished people in India, when the British took away all the food in India so that they could fund a war in South Africa. And it's like there was honestly, they were just skin and bones. And there's just no way these people would be alive if it wasn't just through faith and having a reason to live,
It's interesting that you bring up India too, though, because that is actually a really great example. Because Gandhi is one of the and the Indian people are one of the only few people that have truly freed themselves from some type of enslavement or some type of bondage. I mean, even here in America, thousands of people of color are killed every day by the authoritarian system and the policing system, and many inequalities. And meanwhile, India has, their own government and their own situation. And I would argue it's the way they went about going and freeing themselves with this nonviolent movement. We try to do it here in America. And if you look at the civil rights movement, it was the first time in the history where Black people actually made some progress. Before that, people of color had been fighting through physical violence these oppressors for many times without much movement. It wasn't until Gandhi provided this example of love and compassion, and it took much sacrifice, but the long time reward, and that's the interesting about the positive path, is that the reward is usually not instant. It usually is something that is later on you receive. Your wife yells at you, and the natural response is to yell back. But on the positive path, we may take a second to calm down, and we may take a second to see it from her perspective, and we may respond differently. And the feeling in the moment may be like, I still feel anger, but later on when you wake up the next day and you didn't have an hour-long, 2-3 hour fight that you normally did, right? And I'm speaking from experience, it does pay off more, but you don't feel these immediate things. And the same thing is true with the positive path, where on the negative path, these types of things are rewarded quickly, and they have to be maintained at that same level of quickness, right? It's like cocaine. As soon as it doesn't last too long, you got to get that next hit in. I know that from experience too.
Right. Yeah. All good points for sure. All right. Did we want to read some more here? Oh, it looks like there's another question they have, so it wasn't the end.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, cool. I have a question. When we step in to help another person along the path, at what point does our intervention support their free will, and when might it unintentionally override it?
We are those Akul, and we are aware and appreciative of this query, my sister, for we can sense and have heard you speak about the potential catalyst of this dynamic which you have experienced. And we can understand how that may be challenging for you live on a planet and at a time. It can be challenging for you to live on a planet and at a time where many do not see themselves as eternal beings. And many also do not see the infinity that exists within the incarnation. And those two polar opposites, there may seem to be a struggle, a tug of war between sustaining and supporting an other self and allowing the other self to make their own decisions and respecting or accepting their free will choices. We understand and have much empathy for this experience. To speak specifically to what the line is, if you will, is a bit challenging from our perspective, for we see all of this dance in which you play as immensely intentional. That each step, though you may seem to step on another's toes, was pre-planned, was perfection, and is perfection. That loss is not truly loss. That gain is not truly gain. That all exists simultaneously. And so it is a bit of a struggle to speak specifically to this line. However, we shall attempt to navigate what we see through your eyes as your experience, where that line may fall for you. We can understand the deep desire to lend a hand, to be a supportive voice for another self. At times, that support may manifest in ways that are more tangible, that are more forceful. And by forceful, we do not mean violent. We simply mean that they require more action. We would say that the intention behind these actions are what are the most important pieces to those actions. For we see that it is an action derived out of pure service to that other self. You see that other self struggle, or you see that other self in pain, or conversely, you see that other self in joy, and you want to attempt to speak to that, to support them, to bolster them, to dance among them, to bring them back into harmony with themselves and this illusion. And so we would say that the intention is what is most important, that these actions that may be seen as infringing upon free will are based within a purely service to others orientation. We would see that dynamic reflected many times in the third density to second density relationship as well, seeing the way that people upon this planet tend to and care for their pets and would like to support their longevity and their journey to help them utilize this experience, this incarnation, to its fullest, to see it through to its most fruitful end, maybe. And all of that is blessed and beautiful and so cherished and seen. And when those attempts do not, shall we say, come to the same intended ending, we would express that as mentioned before. All paths are intentional. All moments are pre-planned in some respect. It is merely how one relates to these pre-planned excursions we take in our lives that is part of a manifestation of the free will. So when these moments do not have the ending that you intended or hoped for, that you find much peace and grace, and knowing that again, nothing is lost, nothing is gained. All is as it is because there is nothing more than this moment. And so when you feel as though you are infringing upon the free will of another self, ask yourself, what is my intention here? What is my motivation here? Is my motivation out of support? How can I meet that need? That listening ear is always a good option. That outstretched hand, of course. But ultimately, you are not responsible for the actions or the thoughts of another self. And attempting to assist, in our eyes, is only a catalyst when an expectation has been placed upon the self in the support or in the ending. The seeker who is aware of their motivations as they attempt to support another self can recognize, can see, and can accept that which is often unrecognizable or unacceptable, and thereby is able to act in ways that are not infringing. And again, we see this is not to say that the actions that one must take or feels that they must take in an incarnation to support an other self are of a negative polarity. For we see how, in attempting to assist an other self, the actions may be again more forceful. And that is, or at least can be, an action that is pure of heart and that is pure in its service. And perhaps that is the exact catalyst that the other self is requesting in the moment, to be shown love, to be shown that kind of support that says no, that says please, that says we love you, that says we need you, that says we see you and respect you. That kind of action may instill upon the other self a greater sense of self-awareness, a greater sense of cosmic awareness that helps one peak even for a moment outside the depths that pain and confusion can create within the soul. And so, my friend, again, understanding that this is quite the dance, we would state that you check in with yourself about your motivation when you're engaged in such a practice, and that you do with much grace for yourself, and that you see or discover that such actions may be truly powerful gifts for the person that you are supporting, and that, again, you are only responsible for yourself and your actions. Take these moments where you struggle into meditation and see the beauty of what you have offered, even in those moments that have not had the ending you planned. Recognize the beauty of the support, even though it may not seem in that moment that you did truly touch that heart in some way. And that service, that service, though maybe not felt in this moment on this planet, redounds outward to the universe and is felt in those beautiful moments of life between lives. Your service is ultimately a record, a book, if you will, of love. We would ask if there is a follow-up to this query.
All right. Great. Thank you. So we'll hash that out. Any commentary for now?
I guess my question, I was thinking out loud. So they're saying that the 3D quote unquote forcefulness with 2D, pets, can be of pure service or service to others because of the intention, But what about 3D? Treating treating another 3D person the way they treat a 2D pet, like that forcefulness, right? I know the parent dynamic is okay also, and you do develop some karma with that. But what about an adult? What if I really feel like there's limits, right? But I feel like when you do it to another adult 3D person, you really are infringing, even though you think you're a service to others. They have a will that you have to respect. But I was just
Yeah.
yeah.
I know it's definitely can be a conundrum. Like, for example, with like my neighbor, who is like has some advanced organ failure, and he's in a state of delirium, and so like he sent me an email this morning saying that he doesn't have any food for himself or his dog, and like that he can't get it himself, and if I could, help him get it. And so I said like I can't make this a regular thing, but I can help you today. And then I emailed him back, and then I went over like when I had a chance, and then he wasn't aware of the fact, he didn't remember sending me the email. And then like I tried explaining to him that he could get a grocery delivery, and then he like refused a grocery delivery. And then he basically like had me leave. And so it was very confusing in that regard. But yeah, and his relatives have had the same experience. And so is he, the question is like, his free will is basically to continue in this kind of delirious state. But then, like ChatGPT seems to think that, he needs a direct medical intervention or something like this. So yeah, it's kind of a question, since he can't provide himself food.
Yeah, that's a good reflection and thought. Yeah, I don't know the answer. I just was wondering about that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, in your case, Andrii, I don't see it's interference at all, because he asked, and then you had the intention to help and serve, and that's it's when we talk about like impending on other people's free will, I think a lot of people in the law of one community kind of think that they're like a Ra, a sixth density being, all knowing and all everything, and that we're messing with a piddly, third density person. But, the reality is, impinging on each other's free will is kind of par for the course of this density. That's the catalyst. We're in a confused state down here. And the density is set up that way because the density is set up for us to form a bias ultimately. So so if you get to the point where you're, evolved enough or enlightened enough to understand, okay, I can impede on other people's free will, then and you kind of think you're Ra or Hatan or Latwi or something, I would say, take another look at yourself, and then, kind of do what Kuo just said, start by looking, if you really think you're doing that, start by looking at your intention. And, if you want to help and you want to support and you want to love, then, you do that. But I don't have the kind of, misgivings of interfering with people's free will like other people do in this movement, because the level we're at.
I hear you. Yeah. I ended up, calling his relatives and seeing if, they would check up on him, just so that I don't feel responsible if his dog ends up eating him because it's hungry. He forgot to feed it.
And he forgot to email. He forgot he even sent you an email.
Yeah, exactly.
So it you're kind of questioning, well, what, how can I really help this guy?
Yeah.
And your intent is to help him.
Right.
So you're not, it's just one of these things at this level of spiritual evolution.
Mhm.
Yeah, this density isn't a density of understanding. We're not mind readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just got to do our best.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And it starts with your intention, really.
Yeah, the basic tension, help versus respecting free will. There may seem to be a struggle, a tug of war between sustaining and supporting another self and allowing the other self to make their own decisions and respecting or accepting their free will choices. So yeah, I was thinking if I was to get his relatives on board with having a medical intervention or something, but that wouldn't really be pleasant from his perspective, because that would be against his free will. And anyhow, from their view, the whole dance is intentional. We see all of this dance in which you play is immensely intentional, that each step, though you may seem to step on another toes, was pre-planned, was perfection, and is perfection. That loss is not truly loss, that gain is not truly gain, and that all exists simultaneously. Well, that's quite a nice paradox. Why would they can't give a simple rule or boundary? Because of a deeper perfection, it's hard for them to give a clear-cut rule. It's a bit of a struggle to speak specifically to this line. However, we shall attempt to navigate the heart of it. Intention matters most. Yeah, just like Bill was saying. We would say that the intention behind these actions are what is the most important pieces of those actions. We see that it is the action derived out of pure service to the other self. Help can be forceful without being negative. Okay, this is what you guys were talking about. At times, that support may manifest in ways that are more tangible, that are more forceful. And by forceful, we do not mean violent. We simply mean they require more action. You might step in strongly because you see someone in pain or in joy and want to support their harmony. You see that the other self in pain or that the other self in joy, and you want to attempt to speak to that, to support them, to bolster them, to dance among them. Okay. Yes, I see. It's kind of like if you see someone struggling and you reach out to help before they ask you to.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that are like busybodies, and they think they got to try to help anybody. And, it's their job. It's like my job, and I don't care. They need to accept my help. They need to accept my service. They got to accept how I do it. And, that's it. And, I know people who have been like that. And even when you get to that point, that's just catalyst. And ultimately, you're going to figure out through that kind of thought process that, hey, this doesn't work all the time like I think. and you're going to learn something out of that.
Mm-hmm. What do you call it? A parallel, how humans care for animals. We would see this dynamic reflected many times in the third density to second density relationship as well, seeing that the way the people upon this planet tend to and care for their pets, to support their longevity in their journey, to help them utilize this experience, this incarnation to its fullest, and to see it through to its more fruitful end. So I think that's kind of like, like training a dog. You have to train the dog or a cat in order for it to function in society, if you will, by not like barking at people or biting people and things like that, because that could lead to a premature end to their incarnation.
Or just feeding it or petting it.
Yes.
Just dealing with it. Because, when it comes to pets, if you think about it, they wouldn't be here if it weren't for us. So it's not like they're a wild animal, even though cats can go feral. But it's like they wouldn't be here without us. So in a way, we are completely responsible for their care. You know, I got a little terrier, 9 pounds. She can't go out and hunt things. You know, I mean, maybe if she was taught as a puppy to catch rats or something like that, maybe
Mice, like a
that.
cat.
Yeah, well, that's what terriers are for. But
Oh, okay.
you know, it's on us.
For sure, for sure. It's a responsibility. And I know, like, my neighbor, he, dropped the ball on a lot of his dog training, but at least he managed to teach it to go in its box or whatever so that people are able to go into his house without getting attacked, which is more than some people train their dogs. So when things don't turn out as you wished, when those attempts do not, Yaku encourages to release self-blame when your help doesn't lead to the outcome you intended. When those attempts do not, shall we say, come to the same intended ending, we would express that, as mentioned before, all paths are intentional, all moments are pre-planned in some respect, and that you find much peace and grace in knowing that, again, nothing is lost, nothing is gained, all is as it is because there's nothing more than this moment. Well, it sounds very soothing. How to check if you're infringing? Inner questions. That seems practical. When you feel as though you're infringing upon the free will of another self, ask yourself, what is my intention here? What is my motivation here? Is my motivation out of support? How can I meet that need? Yes. Yeah, if it's service to others or service to self, that's a great question. The listening ear is always a good option. The outstretched hand, of course. Ultimately, you're not responsible for the actions or the thoughts of another self.
And that's a huge thing to learn. And it might take many incarnations for an entity to learn this.
Oh, that you're not responsible, for the thoughts or actions of another self.
Because everybody's got their own path.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're raising a child, but once a person gets old enough, you can help them, but their path is their path.
Well, there was one thing that the neighbor did let me do was help him. What do you call it? He had like a lawnmower and a pressure washer that he didn't manage to get into the shed because I guess he couldn't coordinate opening the door and pushing it in at the same time, or something. So I at least pushed those into the shed for him.
See, and that's the intention, and you're trying to be helpful.
Attempting to assist in our eyes is only a catalyst when an expectation has been placed upon the self in the support or in the ending. So yeah, I guess I had that expectation that I would, help them with that. The seeker who is aware of their motivations as they attempt to support another self can recognize, can see, and can accept that which is often unrecognizable or unacceptable, and thereby is able to act in ways that are not infringing. Aware of their motivations as they attempt to support another self. Okay. They can accept that which is often unrecognizable or unacceptable, and thereby able to act in ways which are not infringing. What do you guys think of that? I kind of get it, but I don't understand this part. The accept what is often unrecognizable or unacceptable.
Well, when you're helping out somebody or trying to help somebody out, there might be other things at play. There might be other outcomes that you don't see, and and they're unrecognizable and maybe even unacceptable. Maybe you helped out a person to do some type, and they end up doing a behavior that you totally abhor.
Well, I think one of the
That's why
things
service is tricky.
Oh, your hidden motives, your blind spots and projections. Okay. Usually outside your conscious awareness. Oh, I see. Unacceptable. Don't want to allow. Parts of yourself. I can't stand the feeling. Choices. Okay. Help you less infringe. Recognizing and accept those previously unrecognized unacceptable parts. You're less likely to subtly manipulate or coerce because you use your own urge to control. You see your own urge to control and meet it with compassion instead of acting it out unconsciously. Oh, because like at some point, some people may be unwilling to accept that they have these, and so these inner motivations, and so they don't recognize them since they don't accept that they can exist. I think that's what they're saying. At least that's what ChatGPT seems to think that they're saying. Does that make sense?
You can do no wrong.
Well, yes, the Confederation said that as well. Strong, clear love is not necessarily negative. We say this is not to say that the actions that one must take or feel that they must take is an incarnation to support the other self are of a negative polarity. I don't understand how love would be considered service to self, but perhaps this is the exact catalyst that the other self is requesting in that moment to be shown love, to be shown that kind of support that says no, that says please, that says we love you, that says we need you and respect you. The kind of action may instill upon the other self a greater sense of self awareness, a greater sense of cosmic awareness. Interesting.
Yeah, if you can do something like that, you've done something really special.
Which the firm love that instills upon the other self a greater sense of self awareness and a greater sense of cosmic awareness. Yes. Yeah, well, I try to make all my emails like that. You know, they always end with an uplifting quote to help with that.
To help somebody become more cosmically aware.
Yes, exactly, and have more self-awareness too. Like, because I email politicians explaining to them what it is they're doing and why it's really not helping anything, and what they can be doing instead that will actually help people. And then it has to do with loving and being kind to one another and things like that. Your responsibility, your motives, and your heart. You're only responsible for yourself and your actions. Check in with yourself about motivations when you are engaged in such a practice and that you do with much grace with yourself. And take these moments where you struggle into meditation and see the beauty of what you have offered, even in those moments that have not had the ending you planned. Because I was intending to get them dog food, but that didn't happen. That service, though may not felt in the moment on this planet, redounds outward to the universe and is felt in those beautiful moments of life between lives. Your service is ultimately a record, a book, if you will, of love. Oh, that's nice. All right. Any closing commentary from anybody?
No, just thank you for it's a nice session.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And all I can say on that is service is tricky. And I know the Confederation has told us many, many times to, when you seek to serve, take that into meditation and try to figure it out there.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to say a thank you to our viewers here who have been flooding the chats. Yes, they say, Paul Apostle says, love makes the world go round. A quiet mind gains much wisdom. And things like that. Very nice. And so, as we found you, we leave you in the infinite love and infinite peace of the infinite Creator within you and all around you, my friends. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in that infinite power and infinite peace. Adonai. All right. I ended the stream.